And coronavirus is putting us in an unprecedented time for sure. But I thought this morning I could come to you in my YouTube channel to try to put out a message of good, fun things to do within the realm of some closures around town. Or, I just heard today that the gym this afternoon is closing at 5. At 5 o'clock, all the gyms are going to close. So there's all these things that are not going to be allowed to do any longer for at least a couple weeks, or who knows, maybe a little longer. But instead of getting all upset about that, oh, and by the way, I got a message this morning from my hairstylist, the guy that cuts my hair, Terrell, texted me this morning and said, I hate to do this to you, but our hair salons are closing now, so we're going to have to reschedule your hair appointment. So for those of you that know me, know that I try to keep my hair trimmed nicely, but it's going to be one of those things that's just going to grow out a little bit more. Whatever's left is going to grow out a little bit more, and we'll just kind of keep going with the trenches. But anyway, I wanted to just try to throw out some fun things for you to do. So the first thing I think you might want to take note of is Netflix. It's a great way to kind of gather the family together, or just yourself and your spouse, or whatever you want to do. Just get together on your iPad or your iPhone or your computer or your TV and pull up Netflix. And gosh, there's all kinds of different movies, shows, documentaries, you name it. It's all on Netflix. So few of my favorites are Breaking Bad, Rectify, and The Good Place. The Good Place is a comedy. It's a great way to kind of finish out your day. It kind of gives you something to laugh about. And then Rectify is a story about a man that's gets falsely accused, eventually gets out of prison, that sort of thing. And Breaking Bad is, you probably heard about that. It's about the Walter White and what he goes through with Jesse and creating meth, and the whole story about that. It's just one of those series that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat all the time. I don't recommend that for the little ones, and I don't recommend any of these for the little ones. I'm just recommending this for adults to go out and maybe spend some time watching. I think the other thing for me is lately I've been able to have a good chance to pick up a book and read, and I've tried to do that as much as I can. And a couple months ago, I was involved in a compassion series at church, and we were encouraged to read some books, and one of the books that we got a chance to read was Barking to the Choir by Father Gregory Boyle. And Barking to the Choir is a wonderful book that you should read, because Greg Boyle does prison ministry, and he visits gang members in prison and encourages them to go through, just go through transformation, and they are transformed through his ministry. And wonderful stories of how he's changed the gang members in prison and their life. And it's just an incredible book. One of those inspirational books that you can pick up and read and say, gosh, this guy is doing some good, compassionate work in the world. So anyway, just something you might want to pick up and think about reading. There's other books out there that people can read. This was more of a inspirational kind of message put out there. I've got a couple books that I've read over the years, but I think one of my top favorites is by Mary, I think her name is Carlo Magno. It's called Live More, Want Less. Live More, Want Less. It's so critical that all of us take stock in what we have in our life. And in 2010, I had an episode that I was able to overcome, but it was traumatic. But it definitely makes you stop and think about your life. And so for me, once I got through that moment in my life and was able to pull through and recover and go through my therapy and all of those things, then I wanted to live my life fully every day. I want to get up and live my life to the fullest. And her premise is you really can't live your life fully until you take stock in what you have and get rid of all the clutter and get rid of all the chaos in your life. So Live More, Want Less is a wonderful read. It's a short read. It's simple to read. These books are not long books, but just a couple books of my suggestions. The third thing I think we can all do for fun would be to go take a walk in the park. It's a great, I think Freddie and I were able to get out yesterday and take a walk. We actually walked up to the gym, but, to get out and walk in the park is a wonderful way to kind of breathe in the fresh air and take in your surroundings of nature and trees and all that good stuff. And so, plus you get vitamin D. You get some vitamin D. You get some vitamin D, which is from the sun. So vitamin D is good for you. So get out, take a walk in the park if possible. The fourth thing that I came up with was to have a picnic inside with your family. To tell everybody, okay, at 6 o'clock or at 3 o'clock or at 2 o'clock or whenever the time is, just say we're going to have a picnic in the family room at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever time it is. Grab you a blanket, put out a blanket or two on the floor, and pack up some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and chips. And if you got kids, I'd recommend Kool-Aid for sure, or lemonade or something along those lines. And just take everything down to the blanket and break bread together in a picnic. And I think that might be a nice, fun way to kind of bring the family together. At least it was when I was a kid. I know when Mom packed up some sandwiches and we had a picnic, I always did like that. So I thought maybe a picnic might be a good, fun thing to do for your family. So the fifth thing I wanted to do, and this is just kind of like, I think it's important for us to continue to support our local restaurants. Actually, now the restaurants are just doing carry out and pick up, that sort of thing, but do continue to support our locals. And if possible, tip a little bit more than you do tip. If you tip 20, maybe you can tip 25% now or something along those lines. Because as time goes on, our local businesses are going to continue to take in less money. And so let's all kind of do what we can to help that become better for them. Lastly, I just want to say to everybody, stay positive, and we're all in this together. Stay positive as possible. I mean, I think it's one of those things that we could all kind of go south with really quick, but if we remind ourselves of all the blessings we have in our life, and if we remind ourselves who are the important people in our life that are around us, I think we can get through this a lot better. So stay positive. And lastly, I said lastly a minute ago, but lastly, if you need anything, please reach out to us and let us know. Okay?